Welcome to Watercolor by Scarlett. So today I am painting an orange. Unfortunately, the view that I have is a little different from the view that you have. Now, because I'm sitting in front of this orange, the one on the left, and I'm painting it, the way that I'm seeing it, the angle I'm seeing it from is a little different from what you are seeing it. So of course you have like a side view and I'm painting a top view. I think that's quite clear, actually. So I'm starting off with some general lines. I just scribbled the lines in to give myself an idea of where the center would be, and so I have something to follow. But those pencil lines are going to be well and truly covered up by the time I'm done. I'm not concerned with the pencil smudging. I'm not concerned with it smudging because there will be so many different layers that will go on top. It's simply going to get buried underneath. I do hear a lot of people talk about pencil lines smudging and that you need to remove them, and it really depends what kind of painting you are doing. If your painting is a single layer where you're putting down the pencil lines, your guidelines, and then you're really putting one very faint wash on top, yes, the guidelines can definitely lift and they can muddy up your colors and they can be a little annoying. But if you're going to be painting multiple layers on top, like even now, you can see that those pencil lines are a little harder to see, and in some cases I'm going over top of them, or I actually am going over top of them with the darker lines, so in a few moments they'll be almost completely gone. If that's the case, I don't worry about putting pencil lines down, and my recommendation to you is to just go ahead and paint, and through practice you'll figure it all out. Okay, as far as the colors I'm using, I'm not entirely sure. Of course, in this piece I don't have a wide enough angle that I can't watch it and see what colors I'm using because they're off the screen, but I can guess. So here is my best guess. I'm pretty sure there's a quinacridone gold somewhere in this mix because I love that color and I'm sure I used it. Now, especially for the later shades. I believe I started this with an Indian yellow, although you could also use something like a yellow ochre, a new gamboge, a quinacridone gold. These colors would all work really well. Essentially, it's yellow. What I didn't do, or what I wanted to avoid, was lemon yellow. Okay, so with this orange, I wanted to create a texture on top. And there's a few ways you can do that. You can use paste, or you can use a foundation. There's a few different things on the market that you can actually add to watercolor. And what I've done here is I've used a paste. This paste is not actually the way it's supposed to be. It's really old. It's about 5 years old, I think. So when I squished it out of the tube, it came out brown. And then I added Davy's Gray to it and mixed that up to make a nice thick grayish color. This is for the skin, that white skin that's all over the orange, the white of the orange that people tend to peel off. Yeah, I did not like how the paste was actually brown. It should have been white, but I think because it's so old that it has oxidized. So I will get a new one. And when I do, I'll do a tutorial on how to use it, what it is, why I use it, and the whole thing. But for now, let's just say there are lots of different mediums that you can add to watercolor to either thicken them up or thin them down. And in this case, I wanted to make it nice and thick and juicy. So since I haven't used this particular paste in a long time, the next thing is to make some swatches and figure out what colors I want to mix in. So this is really Payne's Gray, but I'm doing it in different layers. The whole thing is Payne's Gray. I just want to see if I add a little water, if I don't, if I use it straight, if I add some white to it, what that will look like. Then I got out my very last bit of teeny tiny little Schminke white tube paint and filled one of those little wells on the far right. And I am using white. I think this is actually the first time, now I filmed this a few months ago. Since this I've done a few more pieces that have white in them, but this is pretty much the first time, second or third time I've ever used white paint. So it was quite an experience. And I really like the way it looks. It creates this pasty, and I did it really, really thick, so it's got this pasty kind of layered on textured look, which is exactly what I'm going for with the orange, because I really want this to look and feel like something you can just pick up. like it's not part of the piece. It's not, sorry, it's not part of the paper. It's sitting on the paper. And what it was missing when it was just all these lovely colors, but they were all watercolor, is it was missing that texture. So for the next few minutes, I'm layering in 80 bits of white. I'm really working that into the center lines, into the core, a little bit around the edges. Yeah, there's a lot of white going on here. And this is a white mixed with Davies gray, so in some spots it's lighter and in other spots it's a little darker. I apologize for the lighting. It seems a little hard to actually see what I'm doing when I'm going pretty quickly, and I did it in the daytime, so it should actually be a little brighter. Now you can see the white is starting to build up. It takes a lot. It really takes a lot for it to actually build up into something thick enough that you can really work with. And I'm pretty sure I abandoned the paste with the Davies gray because I don't see a lot of this in this piece, and that color did not come out. The Davies gray with the paste mix did not come out the way it should have come out. It's really too dark. So for this particular piece, I might have mixed a tiny bit in, but I really abandoned it and just went with the white instead, using the tube white straight from the tube, which also gave me that nice, thick, strong, chunky, pasty look to it. So continuing to work around the edges, I'm going back and forth. Lots of tiny strokes, lots of little details, lots of texture. At this point I should probably speed it up so I can get to the next point, but I think it's very interesting. The whole piece took about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to paint, so it wasn't very long. I wasn't filming at the time. I was actually watching other YouTube channels while I was doing it, so I can't obviously do a real time while I'm watching someone else. That wouldn't work. But also because I wasn't filming, I wasn't recording while I was painting it, it meant that I could concentrate. You can tell, right, that here we are, at midnight, and I'm having a wee bit of trouble trying to think of what I'm supposed to say here. Yeah, so it did help while painting it to not have to worry about talking. And I think, I don't know, if we're going around and around, what are we at, layer 10 now? Finally, we're coming back with a little bit of orange. This is where I start to layer on the orange. And then the fruit itself is very, very close to being finished. The orange is a mix. Now, what was that? That was cadmium red light, I think mixed with a little scarlet red, and I believe it was New Gamboge to give that really, really intense yellowy orange. It's a very beautiful color. And I turned the orange, the fruit itself, so you can see it a little more as how I'm seeing it. So this is a matter of pointillism. The way I'm painting the orange in, it's a lot of little dots, 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 which to anybody watching me in real time might be a little tedious, but it really brought across the effect of a real orange, I think. Anyway, I was quite pleased with the way this one turned out. That being said, it did take me till the next day to decide that I actually liked it. I'm starting to notice that in my work, that I don't like a lot of my pieces when I'm doing them until the next day. I think that's very, very interesting. And it's good to know. It's very good to know that the next day I did like it means that when we're working on something, you know, I'm finally realizing that when I'm working something, I just need to finish it, not worry about it, finish it, put it aside, and if I really need to tweak it, the next day is the time to do it. But there's a really good chance that when it's completely finished, and I might have to do one or two tiny details at the very, very end, but when it's finally finished, there's a really good chance that I'm going to actually decide that it's amazing. And there we go, the final little fruit, orange fruit. Thanks for watching. I'm Scarlett. I did already post the final image onto Instagram, which is Instagram at Scarlett Damen. I believe there's also something on Patreon about this, Patreon/Scarlett Damen as well. And I will see you in the following tutorial. If you're binge watching, I'll see you right away, and otherwise I will definitely see you on Saturday when I post a new tutorial, or sometime during the week when I post a live tutorial. If you do stop by one of my live tutorials, feel free to say hi, let me know you're around. It's always nice to meet and chat a little more. Thanks for watching. Toodaloo.